I get it, you're thinking about stepping up the coffee game in your office, the break room, or maybe even the little bakery you run on the side, but you're also worried about splurging on a machine that ends up gathering dust because it doesn't fit the workflow. I've been in that spot a lot, scrolling through endless models, trying to separate the hype from what actually makes a difference when you have a line of people waiting for that first cup in the morning. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's walk through what the BUNN Axiom DV3 actually does for a real-world setup, where it shines, and where it might leave you shaking your head. First off, the biggest question most people have is whether a commercial-grade coffee maker is worth the space and price when you're not serving a full-blown restaurant. The Axiom DV3 is built for places that need to brew a lot without a person constantly hovering over the machine. That 200-ounce water tank just under 6 liters means you can run multiple brews back-to-back before you have to refill. In a typical office of 20 to 30 people, I've seen that translate into 3 or 4 full batches in a row, which is a game-changer when you have a tight morning rush. No one wants to be the person who runs out of coffee half an hour into the workday and has to scramble for a kettle. The dual voltage capability is another subtle but practical advantage. If your space is set up on a 120-volt line, the Axiom will work just fine, but if you have a larger commercial circuit, say 208 or 240 volts, you can plug it in there too, and it will adjust automatically. That flexibility saved a friend of mine who moved his coffee station from a small kiosk to a bigger retail space. He didn't have to buy a new machine or worry about a dedicated line. It also means the unit can travel a bit more easily if you ever need to relocate within the building. Now, what does the machine actually do for you on the ground? The programming options are straightforward. You set the brew level, you can lock out a cold brew mode if you don't want the machine to start on its own, and the warmer plates turn off automatically after a set time. Those warmers are a nice touch because they keep the carafes at a decent drinking temperature without scorching the coffee. In my experience, the automatic warmer shutoff cuts down on the burnt-tasting coffee that can happen when a pot sits on a hot plate for too long. But the Axiom isn't a plug-and-play coffee solution out of the box. One practical downside is that the decanters, the parts that actually hold the brewed coffee for dispensing, are not included. You have to buy them separately, which adds a small extra cost and a step in the setup process. If you were hoping for a single purchase that includes everything you need to start serving, that's something to keep in mind. The decanters themselves are standard for BUNN, but you have to make sure you buy the right size for your space and volume needs. Another nuance that often slips past the specs sheet is how the machine handles varying water pressure. The Axiom auto-adjusts to the pressure coming from your building's plumbing, which is helpful if you've got a fluctuating supply, common in older office buildings where the water line feeds multiple tenants. In a test run, I noticed that the brew time stayed consistent whether the water pressure was low or a bit higher, meaning you get a similar strength and flavor profile each batch. That consistency is a quiet win for places where you can't control the plumbing but still need reliable coffee. So, who should seriously consider the Axiom DV3? If you run a break room that serves 20 or more people a day, a small cafe, a co-working space, or a bakery that offers coffee alongside pastries, this machine checks the boxes for volume, flexibility, and reliability. It's also a good fit if you have the electrical capacity to take advantage of the dual voltage option. Maybe you're setting up in a shared kitchen or a multi-use commercial space where you can plug into a higher amp circuit. The ability to brew several large batches without refilling means less downtime, which translates directly into happier customers or employees. On the flip side, if you're a solo freelancer, a home office, or a tiny storefront where you only need a couple of cups a day, the Axiom is probably overkill. The footprint of the unit, the need for separate decanters, and the upfront cost can feel disproportionate when you're not regularly hitting that 12-cup per brew level. For those scenarios, a smaller drip or single-serve system would likely meet the need without the extra hassle. Let's talk about the real-world strengths in plain terms. The large water tank eliminates the refill every 10 minutes annoyance, which is especially valuable during back-to-back meetings or a morning rush when you don't have a designated staff member assigned to the coffee station.